Hello everyone. Welcome to Vets.com YouTube Ask a Specialist Live. So this is our second venture into providing a live real-time feedback. Unfortunately, it's not at the best hour. It's midnight now here where I'm at. So, it is what it is. So, we're going to be looking at some of the latest veteran news, answering a question from this week's Ask a Specialist. Somebody left a suggestion. So I'm working on the web page to provide an answer for this guy. But I think it was a suggestion on what I could do to help the content. What? Lay down then, or go somewhere else. What are you doing? You don't get root beer. Are you drunk? Cats, they don't care. So anyway, first let's take. This is the Battlefield Cross. Okay, so that's what we'll do today. I should have had a little bit more of a program. Eventually, we're going to get there. I'm going to think about this during the week and be like, this is what we're talking about. That's what we'll cover. But we're not there yet, but we're getting there. So let's look at the latest veteran news, see if there's anything wild going on. If you remember last week, we found out that what do you call it? That lady, that lady's organization hired homeless people to pretend to be veterans. There's also a lot going on with like debt talks and excuse me, with the debt and how that's going to affect the VA. I've heard some not great things, but I've heard some like, well, maybe it's going to be okay kind of things, and there'll be an extension, and that's usually what happens. But this one sounds pretty close to default compared to other ones that I've seen in the past. So, um, hmm. Oh, there we go. So, with all that being said, I don't remember the name of that person. I don't think there's probably been any updates, but let's see. Let's look at some of the top headlines. I would bring it over here. Like, I know I'm looking off to the side, but it's so that way I can read. See what headlines are worth talking about. Deals and offers available for veterans on Memorial Day. We'll open that link. Poppies for veterans, an American tradition. That's not just American, isn't it? I thought it was British and American. Dayton Daily News has an interesting article, it looks like, on veterans reflecting on life and loss 50 years after the end of Vietnam. And there's lots of news. I wish I could really just go through everything, but okay. I mean, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on this week. At least it's not all about the. I am going to look up. See if we can find the latest about this viral story of migrants displacing unhoused veterans. What was the name? Sharon Tony Finch. Let's see if there's any news on her. Oh man, well, some of the first blowback. Sharon Tony Finch is stripped of women of distinction honor. So that's one of the first things we've seen. Let's bring this one on. This is from the New York Post, which, I don't know about news sources and things like that, but there's a nice fat ad. An advocate who lied about vets being booted from New York hotel is stripped of women of distinction honor. Director of the nonprofit Yerrick Israel Tony Foundation was nominated for the New York State Senate honor by Senator Rob Rollison on May 16th. Majority Leader Andrea Stewart Cousins, Democrat from Yonkers, informed Rollison by letter on Tuesday that the award was rescinded. In a copy of the missive, which was obtained by the Post, Stewart Cousins cites distressing allegations that Tony Finch recruited homeless men to pose as unhoused veterans who were kicked out of Newburgh's Crossroads Hotel to make room for migrants. Yeah, that's still working. I don't think it's going to end there, but maybe. I don't know if what she did constitutes like a major criminal act that's going to go to trial or something, but it is really bizarre, really generally a very misleading thing, and so this might be the only thing. Oh well. Stewart's cousins also claimed that hotel staff faced death threats in the ensuing backlash, right? So yeah, she created a huge amount of concern for something that never happened. It's a little reminiscent of, it's like the other side of the Jesse Smollett case, right? Because Jesse was on the one side of things, anti-Trump, and whereas I don't know if Sharon is, more Republican leaning, but she still, it was a false flag situation, right? Where now the response is that people were giving death threats to the hotel that this happened at because they displaced migrants or whatever. And so Sharon is saying, no, I never hired. No, I never said paid anybody who I had was veterans. That can't be right. I need the tone of her voice to make sense of that, I think. And that's all I'm going to say. This is insane. Yeah, so, and Rollison, I guess that was the person that put her up for the award. Yeah, the guy that put her up for the award backed Stewart Cousins' decision to revoke the award. I hope she finds peace through contrition and makes amends to the brave veterans she is dishonored by her lies. So, it's just very unfortunate. That's her there. That she is denying doing anything wrong. I don't think it's going to go to a civil action, but it is really not the right move. So maybe that's the last we'll hear of that story. Alright, on to the next thing. This is an interesting PR thing for good old Congress. They hand-washed the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. So it's kind of a, washing the disciples' feet kind of thing. No? Is that too far? Is that going too far? It's kind of a thing, right? It's like, it's a nice thing. It's a gesture. It's a photo op. But I think they also really respect. I think people in general respect veterans. a lot more than they did in the past. And Memorial Day in particular, I think, is a very what's the word? Somber day of remembrance, and so it's good that they watched it. Should we watch this video? Wow, look at this ad. Hey, by the way, this video is brought to you by Orkin. Okay, I don't want to watch too much of this. Here we go. No, I just want to see them watching it. Yeah, I get it, man. People think that they should. There we go. I guess that's it. That's all we're getting for that. But there's some interesting, public interest news. This I'm not gonna read during this video, right? But the Dayton Daily News looks 50 years after the end of U.S. military involvement in Vietnam, veterans reflect on life and losses. It looks like a pretty good article. I think there's probably going to be some really good interviews here. I don't know if it's well written, but it looks like it's mostly just the interviews. So go check them out. Dayton, Ohio, right? That must be is Dayton in Ohio? I think it is. Go ahead and give that one a look. I'll read it later, but I didn't read it first because I'm doing this on the fly. So yeah, that could be pretty good. Memorial Day deals and offers available for veterans. Let's see if there's anything good here. All right, we got 30% off at Adidas. Yeah, I think this is just these are just discounts that are offered all year because the main discounts come on Veterans Day because the Memorial Day veterans can't really utilize these discounts, right? So members of Veterans Advantage at Wendy's will get special coupon savings on patriotic holidays, including Memorial Day. So hey, you will get your Veterans Advantage discount if you're with Wendy's. And then that's about it. Yeah, so that's not really I was kind of surprised there were any. So there you go. The one about poppies is behind a paywall, so we're not going to talk about that. Poppy being a symbol for veterans because of the poppy fields in England, right? Anybody knows more about that story, please feel free to share it in the comments. But now we're going to turn to the email that I received this week. And of course I'm not signed into my email account, so I gotta do that. What was the other thing I was going to do? I mentioned 3 things. So there's look at the latest news, look at the email, and the email will lead to a good 5 or 10 minutes of conversation here. And then I said something else too. I can't quite recall. If anybody has any other suggestions, I'll mention the guy that I always try to remember and honor for Memorial Day that I was deployed with. But gosh, I wish I could remember what the 3rd thing was that I mentioned. I feel like I put something else out there and now I totally spaced it. Okay, note to self. Write it down. Oh well, it's only our 2nd show. I'll be lucky if 2 people watch this video, so we'll just go with that. So, but while that's happening, I gotta stop saying so much. Yes, this is true. I noticed that while I was editing one of my other videos, I was like, wow, I say every other word. So basically a gentleman I won't mention the name, of course, but they said, hey, why don't you do this? Let's call this person Mr. W. He put, please provide a list of charities that provide excellent support to veterans. And I realized that I don't really have that. I do have some charities that I've mentioned throughout the year or two. There's the that I've mentioned anyway. And I don't have a comprehensive list. The closest thing I have is on veterans.org. There's a very short list of some organizations that you've probably already heard of, that I've already heard of. So I said, you know what, I got to push deeper into this thing. So I'm going to pick up, I started a list that is by no means comprehensive, but there's a few that you may not know about. So recently I wrote an article about an organization called Stack Up, so we'll go over their stuff. There's also Project Healing Waters, which I think is very interesting, and maybe you'll agree when you see what they do. And I do really, and I'll mention Outward Bound but they're not really a veterans organization, but there's a really cool thing if you're a veteran, so we'll talk about them a little bit. And then I'll just go over the general list that I have on veterans.org. So let me just go ahead and go to veterans.org. Actually, I'm going to open a new tab to do this. So at veterans.org, eventually, it's funny because the gentleman that asked doesn't know that we're actually the same organization, which isn't much of an organization. The websites have more of a feel of us being a big organization, but we're not. And I would love to get there, and we're working on it. But, the Department of Veterans Affairs, that doesn't qualify for excellent service. They are picking up their game, though, lately. I do think that they're trying to become more technologically relevant, which will be a big help. Vets.com, a little self-promotion there. There is the National Alliance to End Veteran Suicide, which I do think does some pretty good work. I think that, it's hard for veterans to admit that they're feeling suicidal because you don't want to look like you're a sick call ranger, I don't have a lot of stuff on my medical record because I was just never felt comfortable going for a sprained ankle or for back pain or for anything to sick call because you look like, you're just trying to get out of doing stuff. And but the National Alliance to End Veteran Suicide exists. Wounded Warrior Homes. This is for guys that have really had it pretty bad. Traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress disorder, other types of disabilities like amputations and things like that. Wounded Warrior is like a huge one. I'm sure that's one of the ones that you've heard of. The VFW, the Mission Continues organization. I think this is a pretty cool one. I'll click on it really quick. Something about this one is that they are less about I don't know exactly what they're doing to help the community, right? I don't know if they're necessarily even trying to provide housing for veterans, or I don't think that's like what's going on. I think their main goal, if I remember correctly from what I read originally, is that they want, if you're a veteran and you're feeling like your best days are over of contributing to your country and contributing to your community and doing something worthwhile are over, if you feel like those days are over, check out The Mission Continues. These guys are very interested in finding veterans to be involved in projects that help the community, that build infrastructure, that will put that little bit of purpose in your life if you're missing it. And they give you a team, and you're involved with an organization with other like-minded veterans, and you're doing something good for the community. So I think that's pretty cool. I haven't joined them, to be totally honest, but they're one of the ones that I've considered joining in the past. So give them a look. It's missioncontinues.org. Missioncontinues.org. I don't know if you can see that. Missioncontinues.org. Check them out. Okay. So because I've already talked about stackup.org, I'm just going to mention it really quick. But they have some pretty cool stuff. Combating veteran suicide through gaming. I think that when I was at the VFW, I was if you're not familiar with the way the VFW works, monthly there's a meeting and you talk about stuff that's like for the good of the post. And so I've mentioned this website, and I've mentioned other ideas that I've had. I've mentioned things. Um, but one of the things I was I forget what the name of the I think Stop Soldier Suicide was doing a fundraiser, and so I was like, you know what, I'll throw it on my stream, because I stream video games in my free time. Because if I'm going to play video games, I might as well stream them. It's not my primary source of income. Unfortunately, that's Grubhub that does that. And one day it might be this website, this vets.com and the YouTube channel, and as we make little incremental improvements, maybe. But they're doing a fundraiser for Stop Soldier Suicide. So the VFW post had a meeting, and it just happened to fall on the weekend that thing was starting. So I said, hey, if you guys are interested, or if you're streamers, or if you're interested in streaming, please stop by my stream, or stop by Stop Soldier Suicide, and if you feel like donating. And I started out that sales pitch with, now I know a lot of you guys probably don't even know what Twitch is, or you're not into gaming or whatever. And uh, not all the heads in the room, right? But there's a lot of veterans from the Iraq War that very much, I'm not a young guy myself, but they very much do play video games, and we do. And so it kind of like was a eye opener where I was like, oh, maybe I'm an a-hole. But a guy came up to me afterward and was like, hey buddy, actually, this guy, he's like 60 and he's really into video games. And the guy that was telling me that also has his own Twitch stream, and told me about this organization, stackup.org. And I think this one's pretty cool, because they're not just like, I don't know how effective stopping suicide through gaming is, but I know how effective being a part of a community is to keep you from thoughts of suicide. So what they have are supply crates, which are, we played video games in Iraq. There's a lot of downtime, and if you're deployed in a less active area, then you're going to be playing video games. So they send video game care packages if you want to help support that. They have these things called air assaults, which is an all-expense paid trip for veterans to attend gaming and geek culture events. Like there's a DreamHack, which is a big video game event. I don't know about Comic Con or whatever, but I don't think that's not really a gaming event. Although a lot of gamers attend those. But League of Legends World Series, Rocket League World Series is coming up. They probably have something going on there. And then they have this thing called the Phalanx, whatever. It's a house located in Los Angeles, which is what? And their goal is to reach every veteran, that's a little overboard. You'd have to have a Staples Center to do that, so I don't think they have that. But their goal is admirable, and what they're doing is providing an MWR type environment, a rec room basically, where they have Dungeons and Dragon one-shot adventures, so you can complete a campaign in one night. So board games. There's a swimming pool. It's just a cool place for veterans to hang out. And if you like playing games as a veteran, then there you go. They probably have LAN video game tournaments and stuff. Stacks is volunteers, teams, Overwatch program. They have people that you can talk to. So if you're watching this and you feel like, if you're into gaming and you feel like this is something that would be interesting to you, either one, you want to be able to help people, or two, you need someone to talk to. They have that too. So, or I'm here too. I'm not. Stop by the Riddle 8 on Twitch. If you want to become a part of my community, there's mostly just my family and a few friends that stop by, and one young guy from Canada always stops by, and he's pretty cool. But when I'm playing Rocket League, if I'm playing other things, sometimes he doesn't come by. And it's usually Rocket League. My YouTube channel, not YouTube, my Twitch channel doesn't revolve around Rocket League, but usually people's interests are piqued when I'm playing Rocket League. So that's that one. Okay, let's look at one more. No, two more. Was that Project Healing Waters? Oh, and Outward Bound. So let's look at Outward Bound, because I just think it's a really cool organization. And if you've never heard of it, you should hear of it. So Outward Bound is not a veterans organization. It is a thing where they take you and put you in the middle of nature for anywhere from 6 days to 10 days. And they have lots of different, if you're interested and you have the money, I would highly recommend signing up. But they do have a program for veterans that is funded completely from private donors. It used to be the Sierra Club and a couple of organizations like that. Now they have private donors that are just charitably donating, like I think it's called Frontier Financing or something. But it's all expenses paid, kind of a vacation, kind of a roughing it week. These are the courses, right? You got to get it right when the courses come out if you want to check it out. But you can see the cost is $0. And you're like, okay, yeah, the course doesn't cost anything. But how the hell am I going to get out to North Carolina? I live in Alaska. The flight for you to go out to North Carolina is paid for. And the return flight, of course. So everything's paid for. The food, which is minimal, that you're going to eat out there. The course itself, the kayak or the canoe or whatever you need is provided, and the flight out there is provided. So there's no cost to you, zero. And it's awesome, but course sizes are limited. So I think the two courses, I've been on two, and each class was about 12 people. So you can imagine there's 8 offerings here. That's only 96 people, right? Yeah. 8 times 12. So yeah, so 96 people, and you got to get in early. You can join a wait list. They have 3 spots for your wait list, and then if you've been on the course on any Outward Bound course adventure before, then it doesn't matter how early you register, you will get bumped to the wait list if somebody that's never been shows an interest. So those are the stipulations there. These are all pretty much filled up. The only one I saw there was a little room there on the wait list for is for this one. Blue Ridge, that's in North Carolina. Actually, it's in Virginia, North Carolina, and some other places. But this one's in North Carolina, the Blue Ridge Mountains. And you're going to go backpacking and whitewater canoeing. If you have certain disabilities, it's pretty lightweight. I have sciatica and I was able to do both, but now my back's getting weaker. I don't think I could do a backpacking part anymore, so I'm looking for ones where I wouldn't have to do too much backpacking. But you can join the wait list. I'm gonna try to get in. There's a dog sledding one, but it's not being offered right now, so I'm waiting to happenstance, circumstance, check it out at the right time, end up here and see dog sledding and get in early enough to actually request doing it. So check it out for sure. If you've never done it and it's something that interests you, and if you look that joining the wait list, I probably still have a pretty good chance of going because it's in September, and a lot of people's life expectations change constantly. Like, what are you going to be doing 3 months from now? Who knows? Well, you plan it out and hope that in September somebody drops the course. And if not, now you know how to do the process. They will ask for your DD-214. They'll ask for medical records because they want to make sure you're not like in serious trouble. And but otherwise, check it out. I think when I look back at it, it's some of the best memories that I've had after I left the Army. All right, and so this one along a similar vein, but totally different. I gotta show you this one. These are this category of things that we're talking about are charities for veterans. Now there's a ton, and I'm working on a list, and I will build a page on vets.com. Actually, I think it'll be vets.com redirecting to veterans.org, which will have a more robust list and an ability to search by feature and filter out like what are you looking for exactly. But that guy's question has spurred me into action, so I'm going to be doing that until it's done for the next several weeks. I don't expect it to be a comprehensive list, but it'll be a list nonetheless. And so let's look at this one. Okay, this one is, I think it's an amazing idea, but it's also kind of like, huh? Let's take a look. It's in the same outdoorsy type category. This is called Project Healing Waters. Okay, so what does that mean? They teach you how to fly fish. So come on, sign up, stay in touch. I should. Right now, but I'm not. I will do it eventually because it's so. I would love to learn how to fly fish. I have no idea. I go fishing, but I don't know how to fly fish. So they have their programs. The only thing I don't know about this one is costs and not just costs. So I don't think they're going to pay for you to travel out to their fly fishing thing. But I think if they get a group that expresses an interest to go and is willing to meet at a certain place, then there will be an instructor there. I think that's free. But I don't know. They don't have enough information on their website for me to really determine that. They got a grant from the Sierra Club for $30,000 several years ago. So you can always donate to them if you think, hey, I'm not going to go fly fishing, but I think more veterans need to learn how to fly fish. Well, you can donate to them here. Um, but you find your local program, and I don't know. I just thought it was a really cool idea. And if you're a visitor of vets.com, you might have seen the article that veterans get into state parks for free for life. All you got to do is pay $10 for processing fees, and you get a card, and you can get into any national park for free. So if they do these things in national parks, well, guess what? You kind of get to go for free. Although you will still probably have to drive out there. So they got locations in Arizona, San Diego, Redding. So it's a little spread out. They're not everywhere. I mean, probably because you got to be near a place that has a river. Although I don't know, Chico, I guess there's a river. San Francisco, there's the American River is over there. You got to go in towards Sacramento, but Sepulveda. You can't fly fish out of the LA River. This must not be where I think it is. It's Panorama City. Yeah, that's. Oh, maybe right here. Maybe you drive out to here. Castaic, Santa Clarita. There's Sepulveda. I think these meetings are to get you the basics of how to do fly fishing, and then maybe you go out. I don't know. I don't know exactly what it is. I just thought it was the most interesting one. It was the most unique one out of all the things that are being offered to veterans, because they are geared towards veterans and teaching veterans how to fly fish. So the question in the email, or the suggestion, was please provide a list of charities that provide excellent support to veterans. Now, I don't know if this is the excellent support that Mr. W was thinking about, but I think it could be just the thing you need. I think it's the thing we all need. Okay, anyway. So that's that. And that list will be worked up, and we're working on it. Oh, I remember now. Okay. So the last thing to talk about is I would like to briefly mention. Here, wait, hold on. How long have I been streaming? How long has this been going on? It doesn't say. Huh. Well, that's not as handy as the old Twitch feature, huh? Well, anyway. Here, maybe if I go here, I can mute myself immediately. 38 minutes ago. Okay. So, yeah, I don't think we're gonna make it a full hour. Once people show up, my goal is to have this go for about 1 to 2 hours. But that means I probably have to put like a live alert notification for people that are at vets.com, and I should be writing this stuff down. Of course I'm not. So anyway, remembering our fallen comrades for Memorial Day, I would just like to mention my FSNCO who he was and why he means so much to me, and why I remember him every Memorial Day. It's I was stationed at Fort Lewis back in 2005 to 2008, and I originally went to headquarters company, HHC. Right out of basic, they sent me to HHC. I don't know if there just wasn't any spot open, and there's Alpha Bravo and Charlie Company, and I ended up in Alpha Company along with my FSNCO Staff Sergeant Brian Long, and we got along pretty well. He was being a fister in an infantry unit, you have a lot of guys that are like real fucking hardcore. The infantry guys are, why aren't you standing at parade rest? Although some of them are like, dude, why are you standing at parade rest? It just depends, But more of them are like, hey, get your shit together, keep it. Whereas it's a mixed bag. Whereas in the fire support team, it's like 4 or 5 of us, and so we all just know each other. And yeah, you don't talk shit to your sergeant or lieutenant, although he'll talk shit with you, and so you kind of start feeling like, yeah. But then it's like if you go too far, you're doing push-ups, and it's just like this weird camaraderie of authority and relationship. Probably what you would experience if you're an infantryman and you're in a squad. You'd probably have that squad level, but we have on our squad, it doesn't stop at the corporal or the E5. It stops at the E7, and then it's again we have a lieutenant that's a part of our squad, which is usually the lieutenant is the XO of the company. So yeah, we really got to know each other. I can mention a few other guys, but they're still around, so that's not what this is about. We all went to Iraq together, and it was a real weird time. The CEO of our company didn't really like fisters, and so the Geneva Conventions didn't allow for artillery in Iraq by the time we were deployed. It was OIF 3, which is the 3rd year of the Operation Iraqi Freedom effort. And these guys in the infantry would go out, and we didn't have a vehicle because the FIST vehicle, the FSE vehicle, was taken by the battalion commander. Was it battalion? Yeah. The battalion commander was like, "Oh, you guys got a real nice striker vehicle," and I think his got destroyed, and ours was like clean, and he's like, "We're taking that," and they took it, and yeah, actually, I remember the two of the wheels got blown out on his by an IED, and so he took ours, and so the whole entire FIST team, except for one guy, I think maybe one guy originally was like, "Well, screw that, I'm going out," and then the rest of us were like, "Well, go ahead." And then there was another guy that he was like, "I don't want to go out," but they're like, "Dude, you gotta go, man," and he's like, "Fuck," and so he went, and that was pretty early on. And then eventually, Sergeant Long eventually was going out, and so the whole team was going out. And they just, I don't know, it was kind of like the first few months we were there, and then it was like, hey, fuck you guys. Pardon my language, but it was like, hey, you guys fuck off and go do, fob duties. I was the I worked in the CP doing radio guard for several months, and then I was the interpreter manager for several months, and then I was the when we got down to Baghdad, I was part of the torch that went and got the tents secured, and I wasn't doing anything because it was my first time being in Iraq. I wasn't some gun ho infantryman, and there was no reason to use my job. And so Sergeant Long was always like, dude, the first sergeant is really pushing for everybody to go out, and you're like the only guy left that hasn't. But I keep telling him, like, don't, you know, he's not gonna get his little 100% checklist done or whatever. And I mean, he was it's a longer story than I'm letting on, but so I was like, yeah, I'm cool. I don't care what people think of me. I'll just sit on the fob, dude. I don't give a shit. Um, Closest I ever got to any combat at that by that point was a few times when the mortar shells would come within, I don't know, probably a kilometer, so not very close at all. And he, I would in Baghdad I was doing MWR security, motor pool security, tent city security, um, and interpreter management. I was still doing that, making sure the interpreters got food, got to their correct companies on time, and that their clothes got washed and all that other bullshit. So yeah, it was through Sergeant Long's efforts to keep me from going out because being on the radio guard, and I would still do CP duties and throughout all of that too. So I was just doing everything that nobody else had time for, or that the injured guys would eventually start doing those kind of duties, and that's what pushed me out to like the motor pool to do guard, because it was like, Carol, go fuck off and go over there. But yeah, the radio guard, one of the things that we did initially, especially, was we would put little stickers where there was like small arms fire or IED chatter over the radio, and we'd get the grid location of the platoons that were out there, and first platoon would get hit in this sector, second platoon in that, and there would be a little sticker. And then after days and days and months of like listening to it, I realized that there wasn't much of a war going on, but there was a lot of IEDs being placed in the roads that we were traveling on during the times that we weren't traveling on them. They would go and just throw a dead dog on the street with an IED in it, and I'd hear about it over the radio. And we lost quite a few guys. Our whole company, there was only one confirmed kill through an actual gunfight. There were several gunfights though, over 15 months, right? Several gunfights. Mostly, it was all, it was QRF, and it was CASEVAC stuff. Those were like the big parts of the missions. So, and I was like, dude, I don't want to go out there. I said, I don't want to go out there fishing for IEDs, because that's all we're really doing. And um, I was a little bit disillusioned by that point. And then around 11 months into our deployment, we were extended. We had a change of command, and the new CO was like, I fucking love Fisters. You guys are awesome. You guys are the shit. Like, what are you doing? Why aren't you going out? Like, why aren't... And I was like, oh, I was still resisting. I'm like, wait, hold on, man. I've been skating this whole time, and like Sergeant Long has been like the shield, like being like, no, Carol, he's the interpreter manager. Um, so so it just put us into my team, which I was, a little bit of a distance away from, in heavier rotation, and so I was mostly hanging out with injured infantrymen and interpreters. And it was during one of the COs, like, he was doing some kind of security patrol thing when his head so you have the guys in headquarters are walking around some mohalla and some neighborhood out there, and Sergeant Long was killed by an IED. um, I don't know what kind it was. you know he stepped on it, or it was remotely detonated, I don't know. uh, and I don't know if I would have. I don't know if I would have survived Iraq without him, because he knows what kind of stupid shit people will put you through out there. There was one guy I heard about. He would he would just drive through everything, and everybody's like, "Hey, man, avoid that trash on the right." And you just drive through, and they're like, "What the hell are you doing?" He's like, "Man, if God wants to take me, God will take me." you know. But anyway, so Sergeant Long was KIA, man, and it was shortly after that they were looking. They needed someone to take his place. They needed another body out there, and they started pulling this guy from headquarters. I was like, "What the fuck is he doing out there?" And they're like, "Well, hey, you don't want to go." I said, "I never said that I wouldn't." And they're like, "Well, we've asked if you wanted to." And I said, "Look, if you ask me if I want to, I'm just going to be honest and say, like, no, I don't want to go. But if you ask me if I will go, yes, I will go." But I'm not like, pick me. I don't have any reason to get any accolades or any medals on my chest. That's just not the way I've lived. And well, so I started going out, and I made it through 4 months of being out there in the frickin' middle of Iraq. Maybe 3 months. So I got the full range of experiences. Got shot at, not directly. Our vehicle was shot at. Um, IEDs, two IEDs responding with CASEVAC situations. Um, but I thank God every day for Sergeant Long and what he did for me, and the way the person he was as a leader, and he left behind a family that I know loved him very much, and we all loved him very much. And so thank you, Sergeant Long, and thank you for everything. So that's going to wrap up this edition of U.S. Veterans Ask a Specialist Live. I won't go into too many war stories, but it's Memorial Day, so I always want to honor Staff Sergeant Brian Long as often as I can, and honor every soldier that died out there. There's more names. Johnson, Sergeant Cross. He didn't die, but man, he. Oh no, not Cross. That's that guy's. That guy's all right. Sergeant Cross is fine. Hester lost his life. I'm thinking of dang, Cross was a sniper. I'm thinking of he lost an eye. The guy that I'm thinking of, I can't think of his name. Crosby? Anyway, Santos, um, you know, all the guys from Alpha Company that I served with, remembering them, and then every service member that has given up everything. For the guy on his left and right, and for the family back home, and for people that don't deserve it. Not that everybody doesn't deserve it, but some people don't. Yeah, anyway, if you ever have any questions, or if you ever want to volunteer to help with the development of vets.com, if you have any ideas or suggestions, please leave them in the comments. Like or subscribe. I'll be releasing new videos as often as I can. And visit our Ask a Specialist column if you have any questions that you think I could answer. I may or may not have an answer, but I will work on it, and I'll do my best to provide some information. And who knows, it could spur me on to do more development of the website, and it definitely has spurred me on to write, more than several articles on different questions people have asked. So again, thanks for stopping by. If you do end up stopping by, if you even know that this channel goes live once a week, it's only our second week, so that's about it. Have a great night.